Prototype is a 2009 action-adventure game developed by Radical Entertainment and published by Activision. The game is set in New York City. You can tell by the NYPD budget and the apocalyptic setting. You play as Alex Mercer, also referred to 3 times by his Blackwatch codename Zeus. He was the former head researcher of the Blacklight project at Gentek. Upon hearing that people associated with the project were going to get put down like animals, Alex tried to run away until he was cornered at Pennsylvania Station, and with a vial of infection in his hands, right before he was about to be given the CIA's highest award, decided to Melania the city. I know, what a compelling and relatable story. But let's be real, no one is here for the story. You're here for the experience. To experience Prototype, you're going to need to install some Russian spyware to get this game from 2009 working on any computer more powerful than a toaster. Now after all that, simply hit New Game and you're ready to play some Prototype. Upon hitting New Game, you're going to see a cutscene that really helps establish the ambiance of the slight inconvenience you're currently in. This cutscene also helps establish the 2 enemy factions, Blackwatch soldiers who are capable of indiscriminate violence, I really don't care about all that, and the infected who are victims of bad Turkish BBLs. It also helps introduce you to yourself, or more specifically, Alex Mercer, who bravely runs away from the Blackwatch soldiers and gives us some quite cinematic scenes of him traversing the environment. This then transitions to a second scene where we see Blackwatch killing the bad bitches. No! Alex Mercer then proceeds to take out the entire patrol. For an opening cinematic, I gotta give my props. I really like this one. It helps display Alex's abilities, mainly combat and stealth, and somewhat transitions well into gameplay. Now, the game, I'm gonna keep it a buck with you. It takes some getting used to. And by getting used to, I mean finding the most broken abilities to get combat done the quickest. The tutorial mission handholds you while showing you how to play the game, and also does that thing in games where it says, oh, this is how it really went down moments, where Alex Mercer talks to some mysterious individual and flashbacks to the actual beginning of the game. Alex wakes up in the hospital and proceeds to break free and try and run away. Not because they're trying to kill him, but because he's uninsured in America. This is another introductory mission, but this time it tries to showcase evasion and stealth. It does this by allowing you to stealthily throw a car at a helicopter, and then it allows you to, quite like the ninjas of Japan, run up a 90-degree face of a building. At the top of the building, you then throw more objects at helicopters. Alex, after being riddled with bullets, finds some poor unexpected recruit and absorbs him, showcasing his assimilation and healing abilities. Alex then proceeds to absorb some other poor schmuck, and then learns he has the ability to absorb memories. I hope you like this, because this will happen a lot in the game. He learns Blackwatch has his sister captive and decides to go save her. He gets a disguise and absolutely wallops the guy holding her hostage, and then proceeds to run away with her. Dana, your sister, helps you realize that you know absolutely nothing, and then you take her to her safe house. And that's it. Mission accomplished. Ah, this is truly the USA. Your next mission is getting to your apartment for more information. So this is the perfect time to talk about traversal. There are 2 types of traversal in Prototype: vertical traversal and horizontal traversal. Horizontal traversal is mostly made up of running. Remember, the longer you run, the faster you go. There are also air dashes and gliding, which I usually coupled with vertical traversal. Vertical traversal is mostly made out of wall running and jumping. For jumping, the longer you hold down the key, the higher you jump. It would be a shame if they changed this in the sequel, right? There's also an automatic parkour system that really makes Alex do the most to get over the most simplest of obstacles, but it looks amazing though. There are also less used techniques, grabbing onto walls to crawl slowly. No one is ever going to use this. And if you're falling and don't want to Oppenheimer the ground where you land, because Alex is surprisingly heavy, you can simply move yourself closer to the wall and he'll automatically grab onto the building and slow down your descent. But back to the main mission. Alex makes it to his apartment and then gets that Afghani hospital under the Obama administration experience. And by that I mean he gets blown the fuck up. He does the most light skin roll I've ever seen. Seriously, he does not need to be doing all this, and then proceeds to get jumped when he lands, with the person he needs information from getting away. This situation may seem dire, but Alex has a secret up his sleeve. He simply goes around the corner and changes the way he looks. No joke, this is how you avoid the military for 90% of the game. You then track down the person you need information from and absolutely brutalize him. I'm talking about NYPD levels here. This kill then gives you access to the web of intrigue. You will never use this the entire game. Why are you still looking at it? This flashback also gives you insight into whatever Alex has become. Simply run away from the site of murder and change the way you look, and mission complete. Talking to the mysterious figure once again, Alex talks about him wanting to get revenge and that there's only one place to do that, the place that he used to work at that most likely has his memories. That's a whole lot of assumptions, but plus ultra. The next mission is one of the few missions that actually requires a move before the mission can start. You can purchase move and upgrades from the tab named Upgrades. How ingenuitive. Specifically, the move you have to purchase before starting this mission is called Dive Roll, which works when it wants to. I say this like it's not a skill issue on my part. You then get a cutscene where your mission is rescuing Elizabeth Green, and then you get another cutscene, but this time it's from the military's perspective. Realistically, all you need to know is that this guy is super skilled and they're quarantining the city. You then get a military disguise and then proceed to consume the Gentek military commander to get your way inside. You then proceed to meet Elizabeth Green. She's a bit off her rocker, but look at the cut they gave her. I would be too. She spews some cryptic nonsense, leaves, and then proceeds to sick the most annoying enemies in the game on you. You get some information off some poor guy that the best place to end these things called hunters is some abandoned military base. So you lead the hunters there as they fist you all the way there, and then you descend into the military base through the skylight. You then encounter every new trigger-happy recruit who've not been fed Iraqi children in the last 3 months. At this point in the game, you are extremely weak, so it's best to deal with these guys quickly. The mission requires you to go to racks of weapons and get rocket launchers so you can beat the hunters. However, good luck doing that when every attack of theirs stun locks you and brings you down to a sliver of health, while also being harassed by the NRA. A couple brutal and hopeless minutes later, and a quick cope session where I thought it was the controls problems and not my inherent lack of skill, you beat the hunters, destroy the fuel tank, and blow up the facility, killing the hunters, but not you for some reason. You head back to Dana and she gives you a mission to find your ex, which goes against my moral code. I prefer to let those I've wronged suffer, but this is a linear story, so I'm gonna have to do it anyway. Your ex-girlfriend happens to live in Purgatory, or commonly known as Brooklyn, and by that I mean she lives in an infected zone. There are 3 types of zones: neutral zones, where it's just a normal city and people are living their daily lives; a military zone with a military base at the center with a bunch of soldiers and military vehicles sprinkled around; and then there are infected zones, which usually have infected buildings at the center and spawn hunters. There's also absolute pandemonium right outside the buildings, with the military fighting said hunters. The easiest way you can tell it's a certain zone is simply by looking at the sky, because it changes like it's goddamn regular show. If the sky is blue, that means it's either neutral or military. If the sky is red, you're in hell. Tangent. For some reason, hunters right outside these buildings will always gun it for you. It doesn't matter if you're disguised, if you look like Alex Mercer, they just smell the weakness off you. Depending on the situation, this can either be really funny or infuriating, because sometimes they will travel across the map just to fuck up your feng shui. Tangent over. You make it to your ex-girlfriend and then tell her that she needs to leave. She then makes it apparent that you're gonna need to find a safe vehicle for her to travel in. So you find some military guy outside, beat him to death, get his memories, and find the military base location. You could have found that on the minimap, but whatever. Once you get to the base, you consume the base commander, strolling outside unprotected for some reason, and get inside the building to find the APC driver, consume him, find an APC parked outside, and drive it back, destroy the hive near your ex's house, and then to get back into the APC to her safety. I really appreciate the visionaries over at Radical Entertainment for giving me the chance to experience being an Uber driver in the during apocalypse. Mission accomplished, with minimal property damage. Alex then has a flash forward, talking about how in retrospect, releasing the super weapon probably wasn't the best idea. Truly an oopsie. The next mission, your girlfriend, whose name is Karen by the way, I probably should have told you this earlier, gives you the mission to collect genetic material to hopefully find a way of treating the outbreak. You do this by destroying infected water towers. If you destroy these in time, you collect genetic material without having to fight the hunter inside. If you don't do this in time, enjoy the experience. It puts hair on your chest. Oh yeah, you can destroy these water towers with your powers. There are 4 main abilities, which are Blade, Claws, Whip Fist, and Hammer Fist. Now let me give you a quick rundown of these abilities. First ability you're most likely to unlock are Claws, and just like most first weapons in games, these suck. They have limited range and good luck trying to stun lock anything. However, when upgraded further, you gain the ability of Ground Spite, which is actually very useful. Hammer Fists. These are the weapons for, as the kids say, real OGs. It provides a powerful slam that not only stuns enemies, but can be upgraded with powerful moves like Elbow Slam and Hammer Toss. Hammer Toss can help you cover insane distances, and Elbow Slam can help you become the Antichrist to tanks and hunters. It essentially turns the world into your WWE ring. Whip Fist. Extremely useful for crowd control, and is the best method for taking down helicopters. Blade. It turns you into the average British man, allowing you to do Air Slice, Blade Frenzy, and Sprint Frenzy. You might notice that the section for such a prominent weapon is very short. That's because I've never used it. Muscle Mass. I'm not sure if this can be categorized as a weapon, but it allows you to throw stuff, which I never used the entire game until the last mission, where it became pivotal to my survival. As you upgrade your health, you might also notice a blue bar on the side. This is called Critical Mass and helps fuel your Devastators. Devastators are large area of effect attacks. Tendril Barrage Devastator erases everything around you. Ground Spike Devastator, my go-to move to destroy hives to get rid of hunters. Critical Pain Devastator. Meet Kamehameha. Combat isn't all about attacking. There's also 2 main defensive moves, Armor and Shield. Armor decreases the amount of damage you take from any move, however you sacrifice mobility, that means you can't jump as high or run as fast. Shield however is lightweight, and it allows you to run and jump at the same speeds and distances. It tanks all damage, however it shatters after a certain amount of hits, and then has a cooldown that takes eons. I can't really recommend one over the other, so pick your poison, because either way you're getting choke slammed. But back to the mission. After collecting genetic material from the water towers, you collect genetic material from the hive. This mission truly makes you feel like a New Yorker attempting to avoid everyone trying to sell you their mixtape. Once you collect enough genetic material, the mission is complete. The next mission, she tells you about a lot of military units in the area, so you go and attack them. You head towards the military base, get a disguise, consume the marked soldier, and get information about certain patrols. You then go from patrol to patrol, destroying tanks and viral detectors. You can most effectively do this by simply hijacking one of the tanks, destroying the others, getting out, and repeating the process until the mission is complete. The next mission, you have to destroy a bunch of viral detectors, because if they can track green, they can track you. This mission is a bit of a clusterfuck, considering every single military enemy is there, especially those dudes with the homing rockets. really shatter my power fantasy. For the next mission, you're gonna need some information on a man named McCullen, but you need to make him think it's safe to land. You do this by sabotaging a bunch of viral detectors. Why he would think a bunch of detectors misfiring and going offline isn't suspicious, I don't know. After doing all this, the helicopter lands until the site is attacked by some basic enemies, so it flies off and then a strike team tries to pursue you. Strike teams are a group of helicopters dispatched to try and end you. There are only two ways of dealing with the strike team: destroying them or evading them. You can stop strike teams from spawning in the first place by simply killing the person calling them, unless it's scripted into the mission that a strike team will spawn. Simply evade or destroy the strike team and the mission is complete. For the next mission, your ex-girlfriend tells you to collect some genetic material again in some military base, but betrayed you by giving your information to Blackwatch, and they sent their best murderer to get you. It's Robert Cross, the guy from that one military cutscene. I hope you remember him, because I didn't. This is an interesting fight, and by interesting, I mean completely negated with flying kicks. You can try close combat, but he'll usually use his shock baton and launch you flying back. You could probably use the whip fist, but I didn't upgrade it at this point. But this is only the first phase. The second phase has a bunch of walkers come out and help jump you, because screw a 1v1. After getting absolutely walloped, Captain Cross tries to flee from you, only for you to follow him up. He then says the words Pennsylvania Station like it's some sort of code word for the Winter Soldier, and you flip the fuck out, and then boom. AIDS. Complete idiot, he looks away from you for a moment, like the guy who tanks actual tanks can be taken out by a single syringe, and then you scurry away like a rat. This is the mandatory part of every game where an illness takes away your abilities and you have to fight like a commoner. You go to your sister and she gives you some insightful commentary.
Man, you look like shit.
And gives you details of your next target, a doctor named Bradley, who might help you. He simply needs you to find the body of patient 0. He's lucky I'm not above desecrating the dead. Once you find it, you need to get him to patient 0. To do that, you're gonna need an armored personnel carrier and then drive it back to the hospital to get the doctor. Once he's there, he's gonna work on the body and then you have to defend him. This mission blows chunks. Not only do you have to deal with enemies who spawn ahead of you but also behind you, you also have to deal with hunters, remember, while having no powers. And on top of all that, there's a man yelling at you. Hopefully, there are weapons on the ground, so you can deal some actual damage. However, good luck doing that with a hunter behind you. By the way, your attacks do damage to the wall too. He finally completes his job with some urgency, and you make your way back to the hospital. But before you can do that, you're harassed by the Halo Gravemind convention. For the next mission, you're gonna require a military disguise. I hope at this point in the video, you can see the pattern. You use this disguise to get close to another soldier to hijack his body, so you're able to pilot a helicopter. You're doing this because you're looking for a hunter. You use the signal strength meter to find a random infected tower. When the signal strength meter is filled, you'll be asked to scan. And then a hunter pops out like it's a clown car, beat it within an inch of its life, and then injected with the cure that the doctor gave you. It then gets up and then tries to run away. You're gonna have to follow it. Then reunites with a bunch of its friends. You're going to have to kill them all, consume the hunter with the cure inside of it, and bing bang boom, we're back in business. On your way back to see your sister, you realize she's been kidnapped by the juggernaut of hunters or something like that. Don't be deluded into thinking you have a choice in this. She gets kidnapped no matter how quick you catch up. In order to find your sister, you're going to need to consume a hunter leader, according to the doctor. Why he knows this? I don't know. He probably made that shit up on the spot. You find the hunter leader and take out all your frustrations on him from the vitriol you gained during the no power section of the game. And guess what? After all that, you still can't absorb him. Why? Because fuck you. Well, in reality, it's because for some reason they're gaining immunity specifically to you. He then escapes, and then you go to his hive, kill his underlings to draw him out, and then lure him to a secluded corner of the city, and then encourage him to sleep. You go to the doctor and then he tells you how to properly absorb it. You return to the hunter leader and eat the fuck out of that pussy. And then you learn you need to absorb infected carriers to unlock Green's infected to DSL connection and find the specific hunter leader who took your sister without asking for her hand in marriage, which is quite haram. You can find the infected carriers by using a special vision power. You are never gonna use these abilities outside of missions, trust me. Once you find hunter leader 347, you absorb him and find out she's being held in the most ominous and obvious looking building in the area. Seriously, I could have just found this by walking around. With no way into the building, you realize you're gonna need some shiny new military weapon called the thermobaric tank to get in. To get it there in one piece, you're going to need to guard it as it travels from location to location, just for the crew to get knocked out, so you're gonna have to clutch this operation. On the way there, every single enemy will be thrown at you, but with the secret art of simply driving around them, you'll get there just fine. Use one of the tank's special rounds to attack the building, and you're inside. You find Green, attack her, and attack her with the serum I'm only mentioning now. She has a severe overreaction to super aids made from super aids, and six a Supreme Hunter after you, which I'm not going to lie, wasn't very kosher of her. Now, this boss fight. He can tank a lot of up close damage, and the long range whip fist does fuck all damage, so I recommend you do just pick up shit and throw it at him. Also, try not to die when the game gets romantical with its enemy placement. Once you finally kill it, you find your sister on the floor unscathed somehow and leave and bring her to the doctor. Insert less scary it's not dead yet scene. Your next mission is taking orders from a phone you just found in the middle of nowhere after a random map was dropped off at the hospital. Your mission being infiltrating Blackwatch. The voice modulated person on the other side of the phone tells you that Blackwatch plans to deploy a new weapon. To infiltrate properly, Alex goes on an unnecessarily long Blackwatch helicopter patrol mission. I can't even tell you why he did all this. Don't worry, the mission is kind of straightforward and easy. The Hydras realistically don't really have a chance of hitting you, so just stay at a distance and pelt them with missiles. Alex then gets into a Blackwatch briefing. During said briefing, they decide to test the gas, and Alex doesn't take it very well. Understandably, most people wouldn't. While attempting to get away, he looks super suspicious and gets attacked. This is the part of game where the WWE wrestlers are revealed. These enemies would be challenging, but I refuse to get my back broken by another man, so this fight is trivial. Once you defeat the enemies, simply run away, evade suspicion, and the mission is complete. After listening to the person on the other side of the phone again, Alex hears they're planning to spread the poisonous gas, which is called blood tox by the way, all over the city to box him in, and we can't let that happen. So we essentially go from location to location, destroying these blood tox dispensers. This gameplay segment is really fun, because while you get fisted by every single enemy soldier, you also get gassed, and for a non-furry, this isn't a very enjoyable experience. Slight tangent, this gas is probably one of the few things that might have actually saved the island from the spread of the infection, and we just wiped them out. We wiped out the only hope for the city. This is a common thing throughout the game, from releasing green to releasing the toxin to doing this. We're kinda like the infection's #1 dick riders, kinda antithetical to the entire reason we're doing all this. Slight tangent over. Next mission. The military plans to pump blood tox underground to draw out green, but without our help, that truck isn't getting anywhere close to completing its mission. And ladies and gentlemen, I present to you a tank section. A quirk of this game is that you can absorb tank commanders to make tanks do more damage and take more damage. I didn't do any of that. Not out of willful ignorance, I just couldn't find any. But overall, the mission is alright. Just drive around and shoot things, just hope you kill it before it kills you. Once the blood tox pumper gets into its location, a bunch of hunters are gonna jump out of the ground and attack you. Just hijack a tank, I really hope you had army apparel with you, and fight them. Tanks make hunters trivial, unless the ultra common case where they swipe at your tank, lifting it from the ground, and you're unable to defend yourself. After completing multiple waves of that, Elizabeth Green pops out of the ground in a interesting form. This fight can be actually quite hard if you don't know what you're doing, which is why it was so hard for me. My plan was to lead some hunters off, kill them, get some critical mass, and use devastators on her, but that was quite inefficient. So what I did is I would hijack tanks that would spawn around her, shoot at her, then proceed to get my shit pushed in, and repeat the process. Elizabeth Green has multiple phases. Each of those phases spawns 3 hydras around her. Kill the hydras, and if you damage Elizabeth Green, she falls down and allows you to get some good hits in. She also has an area effect blast that does a fuck ton of damage, and green orbs that are homing missiles that eviscerate any tanks and you. Once you get her health down to nothing, she exits the mass, and we show her what exactly she needed in her life. That's right, an abusive husband. Alex then learns that Blackwatch is evacuating the city. He uses this to deduce that they're about to Nagasaki the city. Alex then gets more orders from the other side of the phone. I really don't know why he keeps talking to this guy. As a child was taught not to talk to random strangers, but to his own, who tells you to attack the blood tox production center. Once again, you have to fight a fuck ton of enemies while getting gassed. I recommend the hammer fists to get this operation over and done with. The actual hope of this mission was hoping to get captured, which you do, and you get taken to an undisclosed Blackwatch base. You then get a chance to talk to this guy, who explains everything that happened, and that Alex Mercer was a goddamn domestic terrorist who rightfully got domed. But before you can get more information out of him, he shoots himself. You go back to the magical cell phone and finally meet the person you were talking to the entire time. It was that skilled soldier from early in the game. What a reveal. He tells you that you need to prevent Taggart from leaving the city. Who is that? I don't even know. And to stop him from leaving, you're going to need to destroy a bunch of helicopters. This was annoying at first because I thought I had to catch up to the helicopters, which is kinda daunting considering you have to go from helicopter to helicopter location, and the helicopters are just slightly faster than you. So to get this over and done with in like really quickly, I recommend using Whip Fist to avoid the entire chase. And just like that, the mission is complete. With Taggart's air power severely limited, he decides to hunker down in the base and try to make a ground escape. Simply grab a tank, lower the base integrity, so he makes a run for it, and then you have to chase Taggart in the tank as he goes from group of tanks to group of tanks. Good luck trying not to get eviscerated by American firepower. I recommend building up some critical mass before this mission so you can use some devastators. Oh, by the way, you can't hijack the tanks around him. They just instantly detect you.
I've stopped this damn thing before. Stopped it dead. Hope Idaho was just a sacrificial lamb. Necessary cruelty. Shoot anything that moves. No one comes in, nothing gets out.
Sir, the walkers have sealed themselves in the hospital. We have orders to liquidate the entire population.
The mother and child are now military assets. And I just made general officer.
What? If you're also confused, read the wiki. By the way, that baby that was brought up, you will never see that baby in the series ever again. I'm not joking. Remember when the Supreme Hunter was hinted to still be alive? Yeah. This fight is actually quite challenging. The Whip Fist does fuck all damage. So remember when I said earlier in the video that Muscle Mass is actually a good ability for the final fight? Yeah, this is what I meant. Simply courageously run around the ship picking up random shit to throw at him. There's a section where you hop on his back and beat the living shit out of him. Just keep repeating this until the fight is over. He also has a Devastator attack that's quite zesty, so make sure to avoid that. Also, don't run away from him in straight lines. He's faster than you. After defeating him, you take a helicopter and take the nuke as far away from Manhattan as you can, and you don't make it out of the explosion in time. It's okay, I know you're 100% invested in this game and are super sad, but he's alive, and he starts rambling about who he is. But that's actually a good question. At this point in the game, who is Alex Mercer? The entire game, Alex has been fighting hard to remember who he was, only to find out the person he previously was an absolute monster. In his own words, he's done something unforgivable. So he's not the person he was. So who is he now? Well, realistically, he's just the virus that crept into his body during the Pennsylvania station incident. And who is the virus? The voices of 1,000 dead men in his mind. It's a quite somber ending. He's not human. He's something more than that. I can't wait to play out the game and see what kind of hero he turns out to be. Actually, no, he loses his fucking mind and decides to rule the world. Yeah, and yeah, that was the main story of Prototype 1. Poorly explained. I must say this was quite an enjoyable experience, but there are also side missions. I'm not really a fan of side missions in any games, and that hasn't changed here. There's your average time trials, some on foot, some while gliding. Make it to the finish line for a certain period of time. Well, like the cartel is on my back or something. There's missions where you kill a certain amount of enemies in a certain amount of time. And there's missions where you try to consume certain people in a certain amount of time. Overall, I rate this game an 8.5 out of 10. Nice cut. So yeah, that was Prototype. I really hope you enjoyed this video. If this video seems a bit chaotic and unhinged, that's because I'm using the Microsoft Word feature that allows you to talk and it types for you. Yes, I'm just actually that unhinged. So see you in the next one, and hopefully longer one. Also give me your money, like and subscribe.
Fuck him up, stab him up, kick him up, punch him up, punch him up, jab him up, fuck him up, liar, pants on fire, this is my fucking empire, listen to my beats, me and the Yanks gonna come over, take over the trap.